Hey, good morning, everybody. Yes, it is morning time. Today we're going over again some more stuff on food safety, because it is important. I think part of what's most important about food safety is avoiding getting food poisoning, which everyone has probably had at some point. When it comes to uncooked food or cross contamination or just bacteria growing on things, and then you ingest it and it doesn't feel very good. So like I said, most of us start out working in the food industry. I mean, some people don't, but it's still also good to know what people's food practices are if you're going to work in that industry. But it's also important to know what guidelines that they have to actually adhere to. So we have today, and this is from foodsafety.gov. What's important about that is it's not a .com. .com, a lot of times, that can be pretty much anything. It could be just somebody with their own opinion on what food safety is. When it's .gov, it means it actually comes from the government. If it's .org, then it's coming from an organization. And so, this one is good because it's actually coming from a governmental site where they're saying, well, this is what you need to do. So if you look at like the FDC, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, or the CDC, or things like that, where they really delve into, what is safe and what's not safe. That's what you want to look into. It's important that way. So let's get started. So these are it. It's called 4 Steps to Food Safety. And the first part is, how do you prevent food poisoning? So, did you know that 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year alone? So, if I have a van of 6 people for a day, one of us will get food poisoning. And it's not a pleasant experience. Food poisoning not only sends 128,000 Americans to the hospital each year, it can also have long-term health consequences. So these following 4 steps will help keep this from happening. First, it's clean. Second, separate. 3 is cook. And 4 is chill. Which, for our second class of the day, we'll go over what safe temperatures are. So, and it's important to have a thermometer, but we'll go over that, but in your fridge as well as in your freezer. So, number 1 is clean. So, what's the first thing we want to be doing? Always wash our hands. When we cook at program, we make sure that we wash our hands before. I also ask people to wear gloves. I like the food safety gloves better than latex gloves, only because some people have an allergy to latex. And if you have an allergy to latex, then, it's not so good. I mean, you could possibly really hurt somebody with that. But you want to wash hands. You also want to make sure all the utensils you're using are washed. And all the surfaces that you're going to use, be it a cutting board, be it a plate, anything that you're going to use, you need to make sure that that is actually cleaned off pretty well. So illnesses causing germs can survive in many places around your kitchen, including your food, hands, utensils, and cutting boards. So always wash your hands right away. And after each step, I would say wash your hands. Say you're preparing a salad. First thing you do, say you chop up everything, you kind of get the lettuce together and all that, get everything done. You get that in a bowl, and maybe you want to add some tuna to it or something like that, but you want to wash your hands before you go and touch the tuna. So I'm looking in there because it's where my kitchen is, and I just had tuna salad last night. So wash your hands right away. Use plain soap and water. Skip the antibacterial soap. And scrub the backs of your hands, between your fingers, under your nails for at least 20 seconds. If you need a timer, hum the happy birthday song from beginning to end twice. Because a lot of people, one person's counting to 20 could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and then that's not 20 seconds. It's like 5 seconds. A second is 1, I'm looking at my computer, 2, 3, 4, and it's a lot longer. A good way to get under your fingernails, I learned this from a friend of mine, is you just take, once your hands are soapy, you take your hand and just kind of scrape your fingernails on your palm with the soap on there. After you're getting all there and kind of get everything. But if you just do this, it'll actually get a lot of the gunk that's underneath your fingernails out. And again, that's why it's important to also wear gloves, is then you don't even have to worry about it as much. So again, sing the happy birthday song. Make sure it's an actual 20 seconds. Rinse hands. So you want to rinse your hands with this. You want to get the soap off and then dry with a clean towel. You don't use a dirty towel. And if you're cooking with, say, chicken or eggs or anything like that, what I usually do is anytime I do that after a cooking class is I'll take that towel and I put it aside so that it goes in the wash for the next time I do a wash. So wash your hands often, especially during these key times when germs can spread. So you want to wash your hands before you start cooking, during the cooking process, and after preparing food. So you want to make sure that, and during doesn't just mean once during. It means, you want to do it often, because that's what this is. You want to wash your hands after handling raw meat, poultry, seafood, or their juices, or uncooked eggs. You want to do it before eating. You also want to use your hands after using the toilet. I hope everyone does that. You want to wash your hands after changing diapers or cleaning up a child who has used the toilet. I'd also say if you're ever helping somebody, say a friend of yours has gotten sick and you help clean something up, like say they threw up and you help clean that up, make sure you wash your hands. Oh, there's my phone. And then also you want to wash your hands after touching an animal feed, or animal waste. I'll be right back. I'm going to check to see who that was. Alright, be right back. Alright, my phone says it was somebody from Missouri, so I might know 2 people from there, but I don't have their phone or their number programmed in my phone, so it's probably not important. Alright, so this is more on washing your hands. You also want to wash your hands after touching garbage or recycling even. There's a lot of stuff that, like juices and things like that, that get stuck on there, and so you want to make sure that you're doing that. You should also wash your hands before and after caring for someone who is sick. Sorry, I kind of went over that. I didn't know that this would happen again. You should definitely wash your hands before and after treating a cut or a wound. So you'll notice anytime that I help with first aid with anybody when they have had a cut, first thing I'll do is I'll try to wash my hands. Next thing that I'll do is, sorry, there's a fly. The next thing that I'll do is put gloves on, because you want to make sure you have gloves on when you're treating somebody. That's why in our vans we always have gloves available. But you do want to kind of wash your hands, and that's cross-contamination. You don't know what's in anybody's blood. It's safe practice to make sure that you're washing your hands during that time. You should also wash your hands each time after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing, and actually washing your hands is the best thing to do. We have, the antibacterial stuff that we put on our hands, which is good. It does help. But it doesn't help anywhere near as much as washing your hands with just natural soap for 20 seconds. That is the best way. I mean, you sneeze into your hands, and if you're not sure you're sick or anything like that, that can really transfer to other people and get them sick. And that just keeps sickness going on. And, as we're in the pandemic right now, it kind of shows, just sneezing or anything can really spread this. So you want to wash surfaces and utensils after each use. So it's forks, knives, spoons, anything that you use, plates, dishes, bowls, cutting boards. You definitely want to wash out countertops and everything. Even Yasmin's really good because she always puts something down. Like we always put something down even as we set stuff on top of it, so that everything can kind of wrap up. But even then, after we're done with that, then we go through and we wash the tables again. Which, we just want to be doubly and triply sure that everything is clean, especially when we're cooking in, say, the after-school program, because we want to leave it even cleaner than they had it before. That's kind of our job. And especially if it's raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs, I mean, those are the things that really cause food poisoning. Wash dishcloths often in hot cycle of your washing machine. Definitely depending on what you're cooking. If it's raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs. If it's not that, I wouldn't say you have to use. If it is that, I mean, go ahead and take this advice and do it on hot, but that's also not that good for the environment, so I would say you can do that. I have like an eco warm setting, or you can put it on a warm setting. But if it's not, raw food, let's help the environment as well. And cold water will get it, as long as there's soap in there, it'll get it off. It'll disinfect it. And you also want to wash fruits and vegetables, but not meat, poultry, or eggs. Yeah, don't wash your meat or poultry. That doesn't really help. It actually is worse. It actually spreads bacteria. So, but when it comes to fruit and vegetables, what happens typically, like bananas, you don't really need to wash because it always has the outer casing. But when it comes to vegetables and things, especially if they've been brought up in dirt and things like that, where there is bacteria, possible parasites that live in the dirt, you want to make sure that you're cleaning that off really well. And sometimes you'll be amazed. I mean, I'm amazed sometimes when I do it, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize how much stuff was on this. So also when it comes to fruits and vegetables, you want to cut away any damaged or bruised areas to the fruits and vegetables. I mean, that just helps with general tastiness. You don't want anything mushy. But it's damaged, it's spoiled. So you don't want to eat spoiled food either. And you want to rinse the fruits under running water without soap, bleach, or commercial, just cold water, not hot water. You want to do it with cold water. Scrub firm like melons or cucumbers with a clean produce brush. You can get these at pretty much any store. Dry food with a paper towel or a clean cloth towel. It just helps to not. You don't want to get everything soggy. And also, the more you dry it off, you're actually helping kind of clean it. It's just like drying your hands. After you've washed it, you also want to make sure that your hands are dry and clean of everything. And again, don't wash meat, poultry, or eggs or bagged produce marked as pre-washed. Okay, well, we'll go with that. I still wash stuff that it says it's pre-washed because I don't know who's handled it in the store. They might have pre-washed it, but then it goes to the store and then, it comes back. to my house. So, okay, next thing is separate. Don't cross-contaminate. So use separate cutting boards and plates for produce, meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs. You can learn a lot of great tricks on Food Network. So you want to use one cutting board for produce, vegetables, fruits, things like that. That won't be cooked before they're eaten, and another cooking board for raw meat, poultry, or seafood. Now, a lot of times if you work in a kitchen, what I've seen is you can take the cutting board, you have it, so you make your salad on one side, and you're trying to get it done, you can swipe everything up, but you don't, and say you don't have time to wash it, you can flip the cutting board and put it down, then put your meats on top of that, and cook the meats. But that means after, you have to make sure that all the surfaces that you flipped it onto have been washed after that. And replace any cutting boards, things like that, once they're worn. You'll kind of notice they'll get a discoloration in them just from all the knife cuts and things like that. Use separate plates and utensils for cooked and raw foods. And then wash thoroughly all plates, utensils, and cutting boards that touch the raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs before using them. And in this, you do want to use hot, soapy water. And you want to keep certain types of food separate. So this is when you're shopping. So in your shopping cart, you want to separate raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from other food, and place packages of raw meat, poultry, and seafood in plastic bags if available. When you check out, place the raw meat, poultry, and seafood in separate bags than other food. What happens is sometimes, say you go to the store and you get a steak, and then you get some like corn, things like that, to go with the steak, or asparagus, which go wonderfully together. And they don't have a bag, which they do now in pretty much every place. You can even go over to the produce aisle and just grab a bag to double bag the meat. But say sometimes you don't. If you put a bag of meat inside, like the steak with the corn or whatever side you're going to have, and the blood starts to leak out into the corn, and again, this is why you want to wash it, but that's cross-contamination. Now you have contaminated the corn with the bacteria and everything that came from. And, it's best to just separate the two out. Meat goes here, produce goes here, and you definitely don't want to mix. Here's one thing to always know. I've seen it before. Be careful with cleaning products. Sometimes people put cleaning products like dishwashing detergent, just spray for around the house in with food. You want to keep those separated out too, because there's chemicals in there that you don't want on your food. That can make you very sick. And that's not just food poisoning. That could be something way worse. So at home, you want to place the meat and produce in separate drawers. Just kind of divide it out. You can do that. And put them in sealed plastic bags or containers. You can have your Tupperware where you can put stuff in there. Just make sure it's sealed nice and tight. Freeze them if you're not planning to use them within a few days. And you want to mark the date that you start to freeze it with like a Sharpie or something. In the fridge, keep eggs in their original carton and store them in the main compartment, not in the door. What will happen is the egg will kind of start to cook. You'll get a strange cook, and it actually can start to form bacteria. All right. Lastly, cook to the right temperature. This is very important. So food is safely cooked when the internal temperature is high enough to kill germs that could make you sick. So you can use a food thermometer to be sure when your food is safe. When you think your food is done, place the thermometer in the thickest part of the food. You don't want to put it like on an end that's like small. and you put it in there, it's going to be like, oh yeah, this part's definitely done. But then the thicker part might not be done. And you don't want to touch the bone, fat, or a grizzle. Refer to our cooking temperatures chart to be sure that your foods have reached a safe temperature. So you want to keep foods hot. This is the chart. 140 degrees Fahrenheit or above after cooking. If you're not serving the food right after cooking, keep it out of the temperature danger zone by using a heat source like a chafing dish, warming tray, or slow cooker. You can also just use your oven. You just transfer the meat in there. The only thing is going to continue to cook, so you can put it on low to make sure that it keeps that temperature. But it's best, for best flavor and everything, it's best to actually kind of serve the food as it's done. With chicken, what you want to do is you want to cut in. If there's like really dark pink inside the chicken, you kind of need to have another go at that. It is not ready to go. But a thermometer is the safest way of going. So if you do put that in the thickest part, because sometimes it can be confusing. Sometimes chicken looks like it's undercooked. And a lot of times meat will keep cooking. So microwave food thoroughly. I don't have a microwave, so this is for those of you who do have a microwave. At 165 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Read package directions for cooking and follow them exactly to make sure food is thoroughly cooked. And also make sure you don't put in too many things in the microwave. Don't try to, if it says just put this one in, put that one in. Don't try to put like 3 of them in. And it's not going to cook evenly. And could make you sick. And if the label says let the food stand for a certain amount of minutes after cooking, follow the directions. Letting microwave food sit for a few minutes enables colder areas to absorb heat from hotter areas. Usually what I do when I did have a microwave, which has been a long time now, or when I use one at program, because sometimes I do use that, is I'll kind of cook it halfway, and then I'll kind of mix everything around and put it back in for the next half. Just kind of take the hotter parts, put them on the colder parts, and it works that way. Stir food in the middle of heating. Sorry, I just ruined the surprise. Follow package directions for commercially prepared frozen foods. Some are not designed to be stirred while heating. If they're not designed to do that, you don't want to disrupt it then. But most of them are. It'll say on the package. And it's important to read the directions. It is so important to read the directions. So this is last page. Follow special guidelines for barbecues and smokers. You want to make sure, again, using a thermometer if you're barbecuing or smoking anything. Use a thermometer on the meat, and you can tell. There's other ways of telling, but I'm not going to give you the tips. Like, some of them say, like, if you press on here, that means that it's kind of rare. If you press here, then it's a little well done. Or you can kind of do a cheek test, depending. But you can kind of feel the doneness of the food. And lastly is chill. Refrigerate and freeze food properly. So we'll go over this for the next part. But refrigerate perishable food within 2 hours. So you don't want to leave your food sitting out for too long after it's done. Say everybody's had their fill, and they're like, oh man, I'm full. Couldn't possibly have another bite. And then what you want to do is make sure that within 2 hours you get that in the fridge. If you go past that, then a lot of bacteria you're not going to be able to get rid of. And you're going to have to toss all that wonderful food that you could have the next day or the day after, whenever it's convenient. So bacteria that can cause food poisoning multiply quickest between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why they say to keep everything above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, your refrigerator should be set at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and your freezer to 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Use an appliance thermometer to be sure. So not every thermometer is going to work in your fridge. And we'll go over this in the next class. Much more. Never leave perishable foods out of refrigeration for more than 2 hours if the food is exposed to levels above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, like on a hot car or summer picnic. Refrigerate it within 1 hour as opposed to 2 hours. Leftovers should be placed in shallow containers and refrigerated promptly, which just means quick, to allow quick or prompt cooling. Never thaw or marinate foods on the counter. The safest way to thaw or marinate meat, poultry, and seafood is in the fridge. So if you have something in the freezer and you take it out, you don't want to just throw it on the counter, and do not run it under water. The fridge is the best way, and you'll be able to tell. It's going to take a while. If it's frozen, it's going to take a while. Freezing does not destroy harmful germs, but it does keep food safe until you can cook it. And know when to throw out food by checking for safe storage times chart. We went over this in another class to be able to check for sliminess and the grossness that's on the food. I shouldn't just say grossness, but like sliminess, discoloration, foul odor, things like that. That you want to check for those things. Once you have something that is showing that, then it's time to say goodbye and not get yourself sick. Okay, well, I'll see you for the next class. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see y'all later. Ciao for now.